In today's video, we're going to be going through how to set up a layout block on the open side under. My name's Eric. I play for the Premier Opens Club in Australia, Sydney Sunder. And we're going to be going through one specific movement pattern, one specific defensive angle that comes up time and time again when it comes to baiting these layout blocks that occur in the open side under space on the ultimate frisbee field. Now, the way we're going to break this down is we're going to start by going through two big common mistakes when it comes to positioning for this specific layout block. And then we're going to go through the correct way, what you should be looking for, how you should be looking for this block opportunity. And we're going to finish off with an example as well. So make sure you stick around for that. With that being said, let's jump right into it. So two big common mistakes when I see players looking for a block in this open under space. Number one is players holding this outside shoulder buffer. So when it comes to defensive positioning, a lot of teams, a lot of coaches, a lot of individuals will think to always keep one style of buffer or the other. And what I mean by that is they might always stay on this outside shoulder. And as the cutter moves in towards the field, they'll actually stay on this outside shoulder of their player. Now, this specific defensive positioning approach is taught a lot, but it really doesn't account for the changing risk spaces on the field. The idea here is if we stay on this outside shoulder buffer, as they move closer and closer towards the sideline and closer under, although we may be deterring this outside in type of throw, it leaves us in a position where we get closer and closer as a defense towards the sideline. Now, once the offense gets to the end of their cut and they start approaching the sideline, we can see just how ineffective this type of positioning can be. It leaves us as a defense on this outside shoulder of our player. It leaves us as a defense between the cutter and the sideline, which is a super ineffective place to be because the sideline becomes a smaller and smaller risk as the cutter gets closer and closer towards it. As a result, if we decide to position this way, it does not put us in the best position to stop whatever cut comes next. If they decide to turn and go to this inside window, we're in a bad spot to contest that. If they decide to turn and go towards the end zone, again, we're not in the best spot to contest where the disc is going to be thrown. Lastly, and this is why it's relevant for us in this video, is taking this outside shoulder approach makes it extremely hard for us to get some sort of angle to get a layout block. Either the offense has sealed our line towards the disc the whole way, or we have to go really early and try to get our hand inside and across our offensive cutter to try even get a chance at disrupting or dislodging the disc. So all in all, taking this line parallel with the offensive cutter where we're staying on that outside shoulder can be really ineffective because number one, it's not adjusting to the risk spaces that change on the field, but also number two, it makes it hard for us to bait some sort of layout block opportunity, which we are looking for in this specific scenario. Now let's go into the alternative, which is instead of taking this outside buffer or this outside shoulder buffer, instead, why don't we move onto this inside shoulder buffer? And I'm going to walk you through the strengths of this, but also why it's not as good as our desired approach that we're going to go through in just a second. If we stay on this inside shoulder buffer, yes, it opens up now this inside lane that we can bid through, and we have a line towards where the disc could be. But the issue with keeping this inside shoulder buffer is that this approach also doesn't consider the risk spaces changing on the field. As the offense starts initiating the cut, it is the sideline, it is the space between the player and the sideline that is going to be this risky area. And if we're set up on this back inside shoulder for a lot of good throwers and for a lot of good cutters that are going to close that distance quickly, that are going to cut quickly, that are going to attack the disc, and that are going to get a nice throw thrown into space with outside in shape, it's going to be very difficult for us to catch up in any sort of way. So although this may work, especially if it's windy or we end up in this position and the throw is a little bit behind, yes, it does give us a window to take the line of the disc and try get a layout block in that scenario, but it's not the best approach because a lot of elite throwers, a lot of elite cutters will simply get this thrown out to them into space towards the sideline and you won't have a chance to bid into it at all. So what is the best approach that you guys have been waiting for me to tell you up to this point? Well, as with many things, it's somewhere in the middle. There is a Goldilocks zone in the middle. in the line that we're looking to take. That's not only going to help us stay close enough to this risk space so that we can actually contest the pass, but it's also going to give us a specific layout window where we can bait this block, get in front of the line of the disc, and cause a turnover. The specific pattern that we're looking for here is we're going to start on this outside shoulder. Again, this means that we're close enough so that we're deterring this outside in throw into space, and it means that we're closer towards this risk space compared to the offensive cutter. Now, as they move, this is when things vary. This is where things change. As we move into the next frame, instead of taking a line that's parallel to them, instead of keeping that outside shoulder buffer, we now start to execute what's called a slip. Instead of taking this line parallel to the line of the offensive cutter, we're going to start taking a line towards the cutter and eventually slipping past them, underneath them, and into that inside shoulder. So what this looks like is we're going to start with this outside shoulder buffer. As the cutter moves and as the risk space changes, we're going to slightly slip behind them. We're going to execute this slip, which is the terminology that we're going to use. And we're eventually going to take this line in front of them to cut off where the disc is going to be. Now, this does three things. Number one, it puts us in a position where we're close enough to actually contest any throws that go out into this space early. And so it means the throw needs to come out a little bit later. Number two, it puts us in a position to actually lay out for the disc. Because we are not holding that outside buffer, because we have an opportunity to slip under and get into that inside shoulder, it gives us a window at getting this inside shoulder block because we're taking a line towards where the disc is going to be. And you can see if we draw this out, the line that the cutter takes is going to be more of this flatter angle. The line that we want to take is going to be more of this sharper angle. So all in all, it's going to form a bit of an X shape when we execute this slip maneuver. Now, the third thing that this is going to do is it's going to help us position for the continuation cut. It's going to help us position for what next threat is going to present itself on the field. So it means that even if we don't get the disc, even if the offense ends up in a position where they get faked off and they have to make some sort of secondary cut, we're actually positioned on a useful spot on the field. Instead of always being in a position where we're on the outside shoulder between where the cutter is and the sideline, where we're essentially marking nothing, we end up slipping back to this inside shoulder so that if the disc doesn't go up, if the offensive cutter decides to make some sort of 7 cut or decides to go towards the end zone, we're actually in the best spot to follow them and stop that next option wherever they decide to go. So that's the specific pattern that I want us to be going through when we're looking to bait this layout block on the under space. We're starting on that outside shoulder. We're baiting them to attack that under. We're taking a line that's sharper towards the disc. At this midpoint, we're slipping underneath them, slipping past them so that we can make a bid towards that inside shoulder as the player gets closer and closer towards the sideline. Let's go through an example. So in this example, I want you to pay attention to the defender over here. Awesome. So if we hit rewind, you can see that this is a perfect example of the principles that we're talking about. We're starting with this outside shoulder buffer. And you can see as the offensive cutter takes a line towards the sideline or towards the open under space, we are looking to take a line that intercepts this pass and forms this sort of X shape. Now, the way we're going to do that, if we go ahead and play this back on a slower speed, we're going to bait them into taking this under space. We're going to let them slip past, or we're going to slip past as we change that angle of attack, as we go for that steeper angle when we're going for this layout block. We're going to slip from that outside shoulder and slip into that inside shoulder. And then we can take a line directly to the path of the disc and run through for the block or layout for the block in this specific scenario. Again, positioning in such a way means that we're deterring that initial early outside in throw because we're close enough to that outside side. But it also means that as the risk spaces change, as the cutter gets closer and closer towards the sideline, and as the outside becomes less of a risk, we get an opportunity to follow them, take a shorter line towards the disc, slip inside of them, and lay out for that layout block. So that's the specific pattern that I want you to be looking for if you're looking to bait and set up layout blocks on the open side under. Don't just hold the outside shoulder. Don't just start with the inside shoulder. Find that Goldilocks zone, find that middle ground between the two. Start on that outside, find the opportunity to get behind that cutter, slip towards that inside, take a line that's sharper towards the disc, and commit for the block. If you can get more confident with more advanced movement patterns like this, then I guarantee you're going to be creating more block opportunities for yourself when you're out there on the field. If this is your first time hearing about more advanced tactics like this, and you're looking for help to level up your specific game, I'll leave some information in the description and in the comment section down below. That's the video. If you consistently execute on the patterns that we've gone through inside this video, I guarantee you'll be creating more block opportunities and more layout block opportunities for yourself in that open side under space. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for more Ultimate Frisbee content just like this, and I'll see you guys in the very next video. Peace.